Hey everybody. So yesterday I put up a Instagram reel on tattoo regret, just sharing some pretty simple thoughts about paying attention to why it is that you have a tattoo that you don't feel good about, opposed to worrying about what it is, so that you can understand the root of the decision-making process or what it is that's making you uncomfortable. And I really do implore people to pay attention to anything that doesn't feel quite right, because there's wisdom there. There's information there in that sort of tension point for you. And I do believe that when things don't feel the best, when there's some uncomfort around a decision we've made, it's potentially another layer of us or another aspect of ourselves that's wanting attention. It requires us to pay more attention, to find some resolve to whatever that feeling and that charge is. Here's the video. Hey everyone, just some quick reflections on tattoo regret. So the number one reason that people experience tattoo regret is that the meaning has changed. And so the thing is that most people are getting caught up with the tattoo and how they feel about it and trying to change it, but they need to shift target. The tattoo is already done. Forget about the tattoo for the moment. You need to understand why you got that tattoo. It's about tattoo psychology. It's about decision making. And so understanding why you got tattooed is actually the most important aspect that needs your attention right now. Otherwise, you're going to get more tattoos that you regret, or you're going to move into a process like covering it up or removing it without addressing the root cause of the situation. And I see this all the time. So you end up in a loop. It's highly likely you'll end up in a loop of experiencing the same thing or cutting yourself off to the process of getting tattooed completely. An analogy to highlight what's happening here would be like a headache. If you have a headache and that's your tattoo regret, you're reaching for the Panadol. So you're just looking for the quick fix. But the reason that I'm pointing to, the why you have the headache, is because you're dehydrated. So what I'm saying here is like, do you want to learn about hydrating your brain? Have you been drinking enough water? Whereas a lot of people, when they experience tattoo regret, the thing that they're looking for is the Panadol. Like, I want to get rid of this. I don't want to wear this anymore. I'm embarrassed by this. Quick, sweep it under the rug, pretend it never happened. But really, tattoo regret, and even something that's not as strong as regret, this is the type of work I do with people all the time around tattoos that just, they feel like they've outgrown a little bit, so they don't regret them. That's a time in their life, but it doesn't feel like it fits anymore. It doesn't feel quite right. Something's different. Is an internal excavation of what it was that you were thinking and doing that led you to getting that tattoo in the first place. So yeah, meaning has changed, but the form is fixed. That's something I've spoken about before. And if you fix your meaning as you go through your tattoo process, then you open up the potential for the form to be able to change and take shape with you as you grow. Now, I had some really good engagement and conversation with people on the back of this video. And some of the things that people said were valuable threads of conversation. So I'm just going to look at them here. So the first response that came in that I want to talk to is this one. I believe tattoos are a map of life. I 100% agree. I go further and I say that tattoos are the story of your journey through life. And that story and that journey provides you with a map. So a lot of the time, I use mapping exercises with people to understand what the itinerary is, what the record is behind them. So where have they already been? And by understanding that map, you can then more effectively employ navigational skills and techniques to map where it is that you're going. So Tattoo Pathways mapping exercise has been in different renditions over the last 6 years. And we've got it at a point where it's dialed in enough that we're doing it regularly with everybody that we work with. Highly recommend it if you have a lot of tattoos or if you're going to continue to get tattooed moving forward. This next comment, have a look at this. my favorite by far. So it says, I had a tattoo done and instantly felt regret. I already had lots of tattoos, so the uncomfort was something that was new to me. At the time, it didn't suit me. The artist said I had to grow into it. That bit blew me away because it's something that I regularly say to my clients. The tattoo doesn't need to be something that feels comfortable straight away. In fact, if it's something that is promoting growth, if it's something that's different, if it's calling you to change, anything that's new is uncomfortable. You need to grow into it. And I've got an entire video on the YouTube channel that questions whether your tattoos fit. And we use the analogy of a shoe, buying a shoe that's just the right size right now as you're still growing, that'll end up being too tight and binding your feet, or buying a pair of shoes that you can grow into. So when I read that part of the comment, I was like, geez, is this someone that I've tattooed already? Are they making a comment to me about myself? And so I read further, and so I inquired deeper, and it turns out I know who did that tattoo for this gentleman. He's a really, really, really dear friend of mine. I've tattooed him extensively. I've nearly finished his bodysuit, and I've learned a lot from this guy. He's one of those very rare rogue individuals who is completely in his integrity and spirit when he tattoos. So it didn't surprise me at all that this fella had had that experience of experiencing a form of tattoo shock, instant regret, and having the appropriate guidance and counsel from the person tattooing him to eventually arrive in this place where he says, the part of the tattoo that didn't suit me wasn't actually the problem. The problem was with me. The thing I had been needing to work through for a really long time. Now it's my favorite. That is an epic tattoo journey. Well done, Dave. And Jimmy-san, hats off to you. And the next comment that I wanted to talk about was this lovely lady right here. I don't regret any of mine. I knew it's what I needed at the time. I might not feel the same way about them anymore, but that's okay. It's just a reflection of a mindset, and it's nice to honor that. Again, I completely agree. We're always going to change. I tell people all the time that are apprehensive to get tattooed because they say something along the lines of, I don't know what I would get that I'll feel the same way about later. So they've got this fear and apprehension around change and feeling regret as a result of change. But that's the point of getting tattooed. It's actually to remind you of something. It's to bring a record from an ephemeral moment and make it transcendental and bring it through time so that you still have access to that. And so you can see your changes. And if we loop back to the last comment and the first comment, so the map analogy and a tattoo that you need to grow into, with that point of reference, with that framework, it's completely understandable to have some type of apprehension and fear because you're moving into a process towards a version of yourself that you don't know yet. But if you do it intentionally, if you do it with integrity, if you're not just shooting aimlessly in any direction, if you're taking the time and paying attention and really doing your best to hone in on the target, if you're shooting at something from the heart, however it unfolds, whatever the process is, you can have some assurance that there is a layer of experience that might come in the form of challenge, it might not, that is there to form you and is for your best interest if you accept the invitation. There was also another comment by someone that said, sometimes people just need to be reminded that they're going to die someday and that there's some freedom in that. And yeah, I agree. We're all just dust in the wind. The tattoos aren't going to exist once we're gone. But here's a question for you. Is there a link between your tattoos and the afterlife? That's not something that gets considered much at all these days. Even though if we look at nearly all people from all places on the world that had really refined and stable systems of belief, story, mythology that link to their tattoos, draw lots of correlations between tattoos and the supernatural or the metaphysical experience. Again, it's something that I talk about a lot. In fact, I'm going to be giving a presentation on that very thing at Awaken, the Afterlife convention in Sydney at the end of June at the Horde Pavilion. But we don't need to think about that too much right now. When we're thinking about tattoo regret, we're talking about lived experience. We're talking about the reality of your tattoos and your story and your relationship to them now. and the relationship between your tattoos and your life. If you know anyone that you think could benefit from these insights, share the conversation, like it, review it, subscribe, whatever the things are that you do, and I'll catch you in the next video.